Today, I want to talk about embracing intentional living. And I have been living intentionally for decades now, and I kind of understand quite a bit about it. And how I got here was through the lens or the door of network marketing. Because in network marketing, I was in network marketing for 20 years. I say network marketing groomed me, grew me, and helped me become the person I am today. Personal development is the reason why I'm here today because I have spent decades digging in, understanding, healing, all the things. Like I always say, we spend 1 through 18, right? The first 18 years of our life being traumatized by our parents and society. And then we spend the rest of our life, right? 18 forward till death, trying to overcome the first 18 years, right? And all the things and all the lessons, I mean, I'm just being a little silly right now, but all the lessons that we needed to learn in this lifetime because, Earth, this life is school. And we have a lot to learn in this school. And some of us never got past the first grade, but there's still time. I keep hope alive. And so, intentional living is definitely my, claim to fame. I wake up when I'm done sleeping, and so many people don't even understand that. I'm just very intentional. I only do 3 things in one day. I must get 3 things done, and it's not really a must, it's very a soft must. And once I get those 3 things done, I can do whatever I want to do. And that keeps me productive because I don't like, I got off the hamster wheel. And I realized when I was working in corporate, because yes, I do have an extensive corporate background. Just for those of you that may not know me, my name is Thérèse Prentice. I have an extensive corporate background in tech and in advertising. I got started right after college in advertising and worked at some of the top advertising agencies, Young and Rubicam, Wells Rich Green. I'm trying to think of all of them. Ogilvy and Mather. I worked at Deutsch, which was owned by Danny Deutsch's father, and then Danny took over. So I know all the big players and worked at all the big advertising houses on Madison Avenue in New York. Then that I segued into tech and was training in tech, teaching in tech, became a help desk in tech, and then I talked my way, I guess, through my background, organizational development, background, project management, worked my way into tech and as a consultant. And then I overstayed my welcome and they made me take a job. And I stayed there, and about 27 years ago, no, 26 years ago, I reorged myself out of the position, and here we are. But it was not just me. I did have an amazing husband at the time. I'm now a widow, husband transitioned 5 years ago. And that's a whole nother journey I had to go on of discovering who the heck was I. And so the transition from being downsized to embracing entrepreneurship full time, because I've always had a side hustle, y'all. I was known as the hustling diva, and that word is never going to be associated with me ever again. I don't hustle for anything. Okay? I don't hustle for anything. But I was known as the hustling diva, and I hustled. Okay. I was in network marketing for 20 years, and that groomed me. And that actually brought me to the whole thing about waking up when you were done sleeping. I got that from my network marketing experience. And I had never really seen anybody do it. Nobody in my family did it because they all worked till they died, right? They're all in the cemetery now. They just work, 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 and then they were gone. No one really got an opportunity to retire. No one got an opportunity to do all those things. They just work, 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 work. And then when they got a glimmer of hope of retirement, they were gone. And so I didn't want that for me. And so since I didn't want that for me, I felt like waking up when I was done sleeping, I needed to figure out how to do that, right? I needed to really lean in on that. And, since I'm always the innovative one, I'm always doing stuff before everybody else. I always had to wait for people to wrap their head around the concepts that I was always talking about. And now they call that intentional living. Well, I call it waking up when you're done sleeping. And so I went on this journey to figure out how I was going to do that. And so some of the things that I discovered along the way, I want to share with you because my whole concept now, rooted, sacred, and real, is about showing you my life. I don't want to teach. I don't want to coach. I don't want to mentor. Like I don't want to help people with their healing because to be quite honest, people like the idea of healing. They don't actually like the work of healing because the work of healing is not, it's an action word. And a lot of people just want to, listen, do yoga, and they want to do all the external things, but healing is an internal process. It's going back to the relationship with your mom, the one that you don't want to ever look at, and why you don't like her, or why you don't like your father, or what happened to you in your childhood. When you begin to deal with all that and heal that and be okay with that, that's when we get to the ED, healed. But most people don't want to do that work because there can be a lot of crying. There could be a lot of things in there that you don't want to look at. And you know how I know that people aren't doing their healing? Because they are so mean and angry and spitting venom and visceral commentary out here in these internet streets. When you go on YouTube and you just look at the war between men and women and black men and black women, I'm just telling you, I look at a bunch of unhealed people because I'm a trained holistic wellness practitioner, holistic nutritionist, good coach, mentor, all the things. And I know unhealed people when I see them. They're angry, they're mean, they're projecting out on others, blaming everybody else for everything. But when you sit down and you look in the mirror and say, you are the problem, you, because guess what? You're a sum total of your choices. Your choices. And when you just understand that your choices are what matters, your life will begin to change. Your choices. Intentional living is about, excuse me, woo, air was coming up, talking at the same time. Okay. Intentional living is deliberate living. It's about deliberately making choices that matter most to you. And oftentimes those choices are made in the pause. It's made when you sit and you're quiet. It's made when you may be feeling some kind of way, but you restrain yourself and you sit with yourself and you figure out why are you feeling how you're feeling. But if you lived a life where you don't feel and you're just reacting to everything and you're not listening to anything, when I say listening, I'm not just talking with your ears, I'm also talking with your body. And if you are a woman listening to this, you have so many sensories in your body that you ignore. That's how we got here, ladies. That's how we got to where we are now because we abandoned our nurturing and our caring and our compassion and our empathy. And we embraced all the masculine energy. And now we have to begin to try to find ourselves home, find our way home, remember who we are, because that's where your power is. That's where your power is. And that's what caused me to get out of the rat race because the rat race kept me in an unaligned state. It kept me chasing things. It kept me needing more and more and more. And when you're constantly consuming and you need more and more and more, you never get to a state of rest. Rest. I rest. I have mastered doing nothing. Nothing. People will call me and say, Thérèse, what are you doing? Nothing. What does nothing mean? Well, it could be I'm just sitting in a chair, just nothing's on, no TV, and I'm just being one with my thoughts or being one with my body. Or I may be just laying in my bed because everybody knows I love my bed. My bed. And so I may be just laying there, just doing nothing. I may be drifting out of thoughts, but I've mastered doing nothing. I don't need to intentional living is about not needing to occupy every moment with doing something. I've mastered being, being still, being quiet, being at peace. I've mastered that. In a world that's chaotic, that's my center. And people will hear me say, I'm okay, too much going on. I'll talk to you later. I need to get back to center because I know where center is. I keep beautiful things around me, lots of greenery. As you can see behind me, there's greenery everywhere. Whether it's real or not, my subconscious does not know whether it's fake or real. It just knows it's beauty. And I surround myself with beauty. Why? Because it helps me stay centered. It helps me stay present. So many people live in other states besides present. They live in the past, which oftentimes causes depression, or they live in the future, which oftentimes causes anxiety. My life experiences taught me to stay present. Why? That's the only time that I have, really. I definitely don't want what I had in the past. It's over. I don't want it. And I step into possibility all the time. Like I live in a state of possibility. So since I live in a state of possibility, I can't even fathom what spirit and my ancestors are going to bring forth for me. So I don't even get involved in that. I just let them know some glimpses of what I want for me. And then I let them work that magic. Because when they work that magic, child, they come out with something that I could have never, ever put together. And I've learned that. And I love that for me. And so since I love that for me, I stay in a space, I stay present because opportunities can come that I could have never seen coming. I mean, I just look at the place that I live in. How this all came about, I could have never put this together. Never, ever. So I'm just like, why bother getting involved in the future when I can just, like state what I'd love, and I always vocalize the things that I want for my life because I know that there's power in the tongue. And so I will state, how do you state it? I just sit and say, okay, spirit ancestors, this is what I want for me. And oftentimes I know it anchors by me writing it down too. I'm very intentional about the thing. So I speak my intentions out. I speak to spirit of my ancestors just like I'm talking to y'all. Absolutely. I speak to my ancestors and spirit just like they sitting at the table with me because they are, right? They are. So I talk to them like they right here. I'm like, okay, grandma. Now, I know that my grandmother is very, very involved in my personal life. She always has been from when she was here in the physical, right? She is one of the 8 women that poured into me. I have 8 women. I come from a long line of women who love beauty, fashion, art. They were very sophisticated, classy, refined women. A lot of them never even wore pants. I think my mom may be the first person in my lineage and 2 of my aunts that wore pants. Most of my family were dress wearing. They were very classy, very refined, very sophisticated women, very much into beauty and home decor. I remember my grandmother buying a $500 geese egg back in the 70s, okay? With little velvet and pearls on it so it could go in her curie cabinet. And she had more than one. She had an interior decorator that used to come and decorate her apartment, right? And so I know that I get it's like in my blood to decorate and, get dressed up and, just be a girly girl like all the time. You never see me outside with, looking crazy, right? If I'm going outside, I had to, even if I'm going to drop the garbage, y'all, I have to get, I have to look a certain way all the time. So everything about me is intentional. Like even if I'm going to drop the garbage, I like, I have to put on something that looks good. I had to put a hat on. If I didn't even comb my hair, but I got to put on a cute hat, a jacket, and maybe some boots, right? since it's been cold where I am, some boots. But they not gonna just be mismatched. I'm not gonna put on purple, green. Like I listen, you see, right? I'm doing a live in my house and I have to match. Like, yeah, y'all. Like we not this is intentional. Everything I do is thought about. It's not a belabored thought because most of it just aligns because everything is thought out. Like everything is very intentional. And since I don't like to look for things, I literally have everything organized to that I could actually get up in the middle of the night, get dressed, and be totally aligned. Just the colors may be a little off because it's dark, but I would have on bracelets, right? I have a full arm of bracelets, right? Rings and earrings. I would be fully dressed in the dark because my house is completely organized. I know where everything is. That's how I live because I don't like looking for anything. And I like to live my life in joy, in peace, and harmony. And that's what I found work for me. And so people do, I mean, people, I get flown out to go and organize people's houses and offices and all the things because I am the master of organization. That I will say. That is a gift. I I am as I'm very Virgo about how I organize. Like I am organized. I can tell you when things are out of order. And I intentionally reset my house every night. So when I wake up the next day, it is going to look like either a magazine or a model home. That's how I choose to live. But those gifts, talents, and natural abilities get me paid because I help other people organize and create, feel, and function and flow in their spaces and organize their stuff that they can find it. Because here's something that you may not know. And this kind of all ties into intentional living is that the state of your home is the state of your mind and the state of how you feel. And you can have all the money in the world, but when you have a lot of unfinished things and a lot of stuff piled up, that's kind of a scarcity mindset. So you can have money but still live in poverty. And your space that you live in will reflect that. I was told as a very young age that how you keep your home reflects how you feel about yourself. How you keep your home is how you feel about yourself. And I was told that, like I told you, I have these 8 women that I say groomed me, actually raised me, cultivated me. I was raised by a village, and I mean a village. Whether I was inside my home or outside my home, there was a village that was keeping watch over me. I feel sorry for everyone that doesn't have that because, baby, let me tell you, I grew up knowing if my mother passed away from cancer, I was going to be loved. That's something that I knew in my bones. I was rooted in that as a little girl because my mother built a community around me and my brother and made sure that we knew that we were going to be loved if she was absent. And she made sure that she taught me things like how to sew. So I'm very intentional about she was intentional. The women in my life were intentional. And so it doesn't surprise me that I'm now stepping into this new phase of my life about talking about and sharing about intentional living because that's truly who I am. Even how I eat is intentional. Like, if you see pictures of me on the internet, you may notice that I'm a little bit heavier in the face. Well, that's from because I decided to stop eating chicken. And that was an intentional decision because, after all, I had not been eating beef and pork for 40 years. I stopped eating beef and pork in my 20s. And so I had to, figure out what I was going to eat. So I started eating chicken and fish, seafood. Well, about 3 years ago, I stopped eating chicken after, I went on a date and this guy and I had a conversation. And as a result of it, he made a valid point. I don't know if you guys remember when the eggs got really, really high, and he schooled me on why the eggs were high. And I stopped eating chicken. And it took me a year, and all of the inflammation in my body dissipated. And I said, oh my gosh, you can clearly see my face then and my face now, and my body then and my body now. And I will tell you, just by stop eating chicken, I went down a whole dress size from inflammation in my body. And I intentionally decide every time I eat, is this going to help me be the best version of myself or not? So that's kind of my gauge. When we think about intentional living, is this thing going to allow me to live my best version of me? My best version of me. And I want to live that. I'm rooted in that. I'm rooted in being the best version of me every day. So if that means that when I get a little upset, I have to sit with myself. When things don't go my way, I have to sit with myself, because I always want to be operating from my center. And my center is peaceful, is joyful, it's happy, it's all those things, because I know what it feels like. And so that's where I want to stay. Now, we all have emotions and a nervous system, right? Our nervous system, once regulated, it allows us to flow up and down and then find our center. Up and down and find our center. When we constantly stay in that fight and flight mode, it is killing our insides. And a lot of people in America are there. And I'm going to go as far as to say, from my own personal experience, a lot of Black American women are there. And they have traumatized me at different points in time in my journey. I'm just going to call a thing for no particular reason. I didn't do anything to them. But I can tell you, and I can even tell you the locale of where it occurred the most. Because the last time I checked, I've been Black my whole life. And I never encountered any of it until I moved to a certain area. And it was on fleek. Okay? So, having had that experience, let open the door for me to have a deeper understanding of, I'm grateful for it. I'm just calling what my experience was. That may not be your experience, but it was my experience. And what I've also learned is that intentional living is about being your authentic self. Not performing for anyone. There's a lot of performance going on in this world. But being your authentic self, that's the real game changer. And I had to learn that. Cause I'm recovered ED people pleaser. And I know exactly when it got started. I know why it got started and all the things. That's what happened when you go on that healing journey. You start to understand things a little bit better, which means that you can now become fully aware of it, acutely aware of it. And then when I become acutely aware of something, then I can shift that. And so I shifted being a people pleaser because it's not worth it. And now I stand rooted. That's why the word rooted is so, it just is so me, because my journey brought me to rooted in who I am. Yeah, I'm still flexible, but I know what I'm willing to put up with, and not even put up with, what I am willing to allow into my life and what I'm not. I am deeply self-aware. I know what feels good to me, and I know what I want for my life. That's the most important thing. And the biggest thing that I had to learn is to let people go. Not because I dislike them, but oftentimes because we're not in alignment. And alignment is everything. 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 I actually love some people, but I had let them go. because we wasn't aligned. I didn't like the way they was treating me. And as much as I may love them, uh-uh, had to let them go. When people don't honor who you are, you may have to let them go. And it's okay. I had to learn that it was okay and be intentional about keep pausing and saying, how does this make me feel? Is there an opportunity for this to shift or change? Have you tried everything if you want to maintain that? What choices have you made, right? Deliberate choices. And if they don't work, then what you have to do, open your hand and let it go. Open your hand and let it go. And know that what's for you is going to be for you. And that helped me step into possibility. Because when you step into possibility, that's when, Spirit and my ancestors, they be like, girl, I was just waiting for you to open the door so we could bring you something juicier and better than what you had. And that's what I learned, and that's how I learned about possibility. Because where I live, I could have never came up with this on my own. This is totally possibility. Stepping into possibility. Going to Costa Rica last year. I was terrified. I went to Costa Rica for I didn't know how long I was going. I went on a one-way ticket. It was one of my mentees. I love her and her babies. Oh my gosh, I missed them. I loved them so much. And I only knew her from being in my membership and taking herbalism in a weekend. And y'all may see my trademark back there, herbalism in a weekend, right? It's a registered trademark program. I believe in what? Making the choice to secure your intellectual property. So, and that may not be it. Nope, that's not it. That's another trademark. I'm sorry. I'm looking at that don't look like it. No, that's another trademark I have for my apothecary. So yes, I believe in securing your IP, your intellectual property. Okay? And that's why I'm very careful about some other things that I'm getting ready to trademark that before I share it publicly with you, the people out here that like to teeth people things. Yeah, that's my West Indian background. They teeth in people things. I will not say them. And that's another thing. I have made a deliberate decision to share more of who I am as a person, right? Because I have depth and breadth. I come from a rich Caribbean background, and I am very proud of being a Caribbean American. That's right. I will never, as my mother would say, how dare you? How dare you deny one side of your lineage and highlight the other? That's right. I'm a Caribbean and an American. So I honor both. Okay? Okay. Now that we got that clear. So that's a choice. And you know what? Intentional living is about deliberate choices that matter most to you. It's creating a life of meaning. It's creating a life of joy, creating a life of peace that aligns with who? You. You are the center stage of your life. Act like it. So I'm here to share some tips, some strategies, some ideas on how you can do that. I'm just going to share with you my life. So now let me go back to Costa Rica. So I met my client, had never seen her in person. We met online. We met in Herbalism in a Weekend, which is my trademark signature program on ancestral spiritual herbalism. And then she was in my membership. She went on to write a book, and I was just checking in with her, and she was like, I think somebody's coming here to visit us. She was in Costa Rica with her babies. And so I said, oh, that's nice. Well, I hope they enjoy themselves. And that led to like a couple of days or so, maybe a week later. She's like, Miss T, I think it's you. And a long story short, I ended up in Costa Rica. When I tell you possibility that was, stepping into possibility, I went and I thought I was only going to stay 2 weeks. Well, she was traveling to the Caribbean side and invited me to come along with the children and her, and I had a natural ball. And I'm well traveled, right? I've been all over the world. I've been all over Europe. I've been to Germany, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Belgium, Amsterdam. I've been all over, y'all. All the Caribbean islands, like they ain't not new to me. The place that I haven't spent enough time in, I will say, is Africa, because I've only been to Morocco, and Morocco got my heart, man. Woo! I love me some Morocco. But anyway, Costa Rica got my heart. I love Costa Rica. It was life changing. And I am going to be hosting a retreat there in September of 2026. Couldn't remember the date, but September of 2026, I am going to take a group, very small, intimate. I don't like a lot of people, a small, intimate group to Costa Rica to take them on the journey that I experienced. Because the peace that I came back with, that I still have from Costa Rica, baby. And we are actually going to be having an herbal experience there at an herbal farm. I was invited to come back and teach. And so I will be teaching with my group. And I'm excited about that because anybody that knows me knows that herbalism is the thing that I am herbalism, right? Because we are nature. I don't do herbalism because it's integrated, it's embodied in everything that I do, from the food, the way I season my food, from what I drink. Like I make my own beverages and my own teas and my own blends. That's just my lifestyle. That's intentional living for me. And we'll get to that. If you stay on this journey with me, I'm going to have you rooted in herbalism. I'm going to have you rooted in making decisions and not being a people pleaser and living the best life that you could possibly live, whatever that is. I have clients right now that just packed up their family and went to Thailand, man. And listen, I told her I want her to master nothing. Okay? We met 5 years ago, and that was just a glimmer of hope. And now she's living inside of that dream. And that's what I help people do. That's the real flex. I help people build their intentional life for real, for real. And then they can step inside of it and live it, even when they didn't even believe that they could. So, okay. So Costa Rica changed my life. I mean, I met so many people in Costa Rica. I ate so much good food. I was cooking over there. The people at the market know me at the Centro Mercado in oh my gosh, where was I? In San Jose. They know me over there. Like I can put my order in from here and have they be delivering it for me. Okay. My spices, my everything, my bottles, all the things over there. And then we went to Limon, which is the Caribbean side, the Afro-Caribbean side of Costa Rica, and that was a whole the guys that we met over there that took us on a tour and talked to us and taught us about Marcus Garvey and his influence on Costa Rica. And then also found out that, my family's from Barbados. And so they also were part of building the railroads there. Like there's so much history and culture that I learned when I was in Costa Rica. It changed my life. I love Costa Rica, right? Pura vida, right? Pura vida. So, yes. And got my Spanish on, made contacts. I have another place in Limon that I could teach at herbalism. So there's so much that happened. The markets that we went to, there's so much that happened. And I want to take you guys on that journey with me too. So stay tuned. Part of our intentional living series and lifestyle and TV show and all that is going to be Rooted, Sacred, and Real TV over at YouTube. So go find us over there too. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and follow. And so, yes, I just wanted to come in and talk a little bit about how you embrace this in intentional living. It's embraced by making conscious, deliberate decisions about every moment in your life. That's how granular I get. But then you can make bigger decisions too, like how you want to live your life. That's a bigger decision. And then we break it down into more granular decisions. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following. We just getting started. And starting in March, we are going to be live streaming live from YouTube. So make sure you follow and subscribe us over there so that you can make sure you stay abreast on this journey that I'm taking you on. The name of my website is solunasanctuary.com. Solunasanctuary.com. It's blending the masculine and the feminine to make an amazing sanctuary out of your life. And so my name is Thérèse Prentice. I am, we playing with these titles here, an intentional sensual living curator, right? Because I love igniting the senses, but I'm very intentional about it. And I love curating and bringing things together. So we're going to play with that for just a little bit and we're going to see where we land. If you got some ideas, drop it and let us know what your ideas are. I'm very sensual, and sensual ain't never sexual when I'm talking about it. It's living life through our five senses. And then I bring in my spirituality, which would be my sixth sense, right? And I'm very intentional about it. And I like to curate things. I like to make decisions about how something makes me feel. So I definitely curate a whole lot of things. I curate all day, every day, from my food to what I'm going to put on to what I'm going to do. So, yes. So, if you have any comments or thoughts, positive ones, that is, we're open. And if you have strong opinions, we're not open to that. This is a channel and this is a community of positivity. There's enough negativity in the world. Over here, I want you to come and grab your favorite beverage and sit down and do something a little different, like smile, laugh, and have joy. My name is Thérèse Prentice, and I look forward to coming back to you and talking about intentional living and sensuality real soon. And bye for now.